Hi, welcome to breakfast at my house. I do this often, and you might say it's because I care about issues, but I'm alone all the time. I was a very romantic, social guy when I was younger. But I got older. I lost someone who was very special to me. Because as much as I thought as I was being a loving, supportive person, I turned into an ogre. And her father was an evangelical xenophobe, or that was the excuse. But she kept coming back. So I think that was a real factor. I was the wrong religion, I was the wrong nationality, and I was the wrong race. And I found interest in other women along the way, but not enough to do much about it. She was the one, and she got away. But I still laugh a lot, as you know, and I joke around a lot, and I still get involved. I still work. I still live. I have a room full of artwork, a lot of which is mine. If you look at the rest of the place, it's all about that, although I really don't put it together into much new material anymore. Those are all diaries up there. Art supplies over there. There's more in my foyer. I have like another mini office over there with lots of books and papers. Same for down here. Half these diaries are in use. But we crave human contact, and that's what I want to talk to you about today. I'm going to talk about a few issues stemming from the American social situation, and I'm not going to go into them too deeply because they're simple problems, and so they have simple solutions. And I'd like to know if you would pass these ideas along, maybe with this video or just with your own voice. Now, it's going to sound very hokey, but I think you'll agree it's correct. I may say things you don't like, too, but you'll also find that if you're really honest with yourself, they're correct. America needs more love. Now, around the time that I started to experience problems in my relationship a few years back, and in one of the relationships before that, it was a few years before, I started writing some theories about love. It was around the time I became a Buddhist in 2008. And I also started to write a novel in 2004 about the same subject. Not much has happened with either. I mean, I got several chapters into the book on love, and I got several chapters into the novel, but they're both about love. And I'm not going to talk about what I think is required for love. That's for a different situation. For now, I'll let you wallow in your own misinterpretations of what you think love is, and those of you who know what love is, I'll let you bask in that. I don't want to deconstruct it right now. Suffice to say, America needs more love. And I'm going to say a few things, as I said, that you won't like. BLM is not love. It's a faction, as the founders would have said. Now, I agree that Black Lives Matter. Who wouldn't? But Black Lives Matter is not Black Lives. It's Black Lives Matter. And I lost faith in them when I saw one of their adherents, because these things become like religions, jump in front of Bernie Sanders and wrest the podium away from him. You lost me there. Remember the line in Jerry Maguire where you had me at hello? Well, they lost me at, flipping off Bernie Sanders. No explanation necessary. That's one of the things that I know you'll agree with. That was wrong. And now, one of their adherents, one of their leaders, is advocating looting. Now, before you get upset, I understand the looting too. I'm a lover, and I love people as much as they make me angry. I mean, if you saw me in Japan on an average day, I leave the house happy as I am now. And by the time I get to work, or after leaving work, by the time I get home, you might think I hate Japanese people because I get so fed up with the stupid behavior that I see. But you see, we have that too in America. It's everywhere. Mindlessness, thoughtlessness. To deal with that, love won't do it alone. Because through love, people fall into some unconscious idea that they're doing right. With that, you need meditation and mindfulness. But I want to stick on the love issue for a few minutes. BLM is not love. They're their own agenda now. That's what happens. And if you know me well enough, you know I'm a word guy. I started out writing poetry as a boy. And I still write poetry. And words mean a lot to me. When I'm chewing, just think of this as you're helping me not to be alone today on a nice Sunday morning in Japan. And if we were in a cafe together, or in your living room or kitchen, this is where you would have a chance to say something. So maybe think about what I'm saying while I'm chewing. And I'll thank you for being with me right now. I can imagine a lot of you. Sorry, I didn't bring a napkin. A lot of you have become my good friends on Facebook. Some old friends, people with whom I went to school from kindergarten, I keep reaching out. You don't reach back because you have real lives, I know that. You don't work only a few times a week and live in an insanely cheap apartment in Tokyo. You're in New York. But I still love you. But the people who have become close friends, I should have done this live. That would make more sense, right? The people who have become close friends on Facebook, they blow my mind because we've never met. Then there's a handful of you who I feel like we're best friends, and you tell me when you're going to take a bubble bath, or when you're going to go take a shower, or you're going to go for a run, or you got to run out to the store, and you talk to me for hours, you know. Some of you are in Canada, some of you are in the American West, some of you are on the East Coast. So as a word guy, I don't like certain things because I really believe that words inform our cognition. There's a theory in linguistics that language affects how we think. Noam Chomsky said that language was probably a thinking device before it was a speaking device. Language was originally something internal. That's why we talk to ourselves, even when we're trying not to, I think. And so words matter. So just as I believe in equality for all people, and I don't like Black Lives Matter, which started with the name before I saw their bad behavior. And I understand the downtrodden group, the group being beat up on for centuries. They have to rise up and call attention to themselves, and that's why they say Black Lives Matter. I get it. But that kind of wording will eventually turn in on itself and against others. And it did. And that's why they advocate looting. Now, I get it. Like I said before, I get it. If you're into love, you don't mind that an abused child breaks a window. But they're not children, and they shouldn't be looting. And when they do, I can forgive them. But don't advocate it. Okay? So now we'll move on to the next thing to show you how my thinking works. As I don't like that, I never liked the name feminism. Do I have to go through the whole thing and say, When you beat up on a group, then the group is going to have a name which focuses on what they are. I get it. But it's not of the highest mind. And this is why America has the problems that it has. Not because of Black Lives Matter or feminists per se, but because these groups that want equality and should have it become subgroups at a lower level of spiritual consciousness. Now, there are Buddhists in Myanmar who are acting just as poorly. There were Buddhists who used Zen in China for war. There were Zenists in Japan who marshaled the power of controlling the mind and stealing the resolve, and they used those skills in war. Okay, so every group makes this mistake, even the best groups. And I'm sorry, I'm partial to Zen because there's no God in it, and it's all about controlling your own mind and your own behavior and behaving properly for the benefit of yourself and others. But even they screw up. You screw up when you don't go to the highest level. And the highest level is the life level. If you can't get that high, the human level. What I mean by the life level is you have the vegans up there. They love all life, like the Jains. Below them, the Buddhists, who tolerate some cruelty to other species because they just think it's impractical to sift through the sand before you build a house to save the ants, or to drink through sackcloth so that you don't swallow a microorganism, okay? But it's up there like that. You have the life people, the people who love all life, the Jains, then the Buddhists, the Christians, the Muslims, and the Jews. They're not really very far up near the top, even though they talk a lot about love. But I'm not in here to criticize religion. What I'm in here to say is, if you want equality for all people, say that. Say that. Black Lives Matter. They'd like to know why they're now the enemy of many people. It isn't just because many people don't like black people, and that's a shame, and that's terrible. And it's not many, actually. It's a minority. Bigots are a minority. Most human beings just want to live. Come to Asia. Look at all the countries in Asia where there are all different people getting along. And we don't have riots in the street. There are prejudices, believe me. If I want to get an apartment here in Japan, I need to go and find a foreigner-friendly real estate agent. But you see, I don't band together with other people and break windows over it. My own peace and the peace that I want to create among others is too important to me to do that. You see? There's something wrong with the way Americans fight for their rights. They fight. And yes, in a manner of speaking, we have to fight. But if you're doing more fighting than you are brotherhood, you're not going to win. Remember John Lennon? If you go around carrying pictures of Chairman Mao, you're not going to make it with anyone anyhow. Think of The Who to understand that line, right? Bow to the new boss, same as the old boss. Well, now it's Black Lives Matter. A few years from now, when they're discriminating against white people enough, it'll be White Lives Matter. And that's why the police came out with Blue Matters. Because they want to be loved too. You can't win unless you start at the top. That's what Jesus did. And I'm not a Christian, but he tried his best. The Buddha didn't even label anything. That's really getting close to the top of your consciousness. Right? So, we need more love. Not Black Lives Matter love. Not white people who love black people love. That's all bullshit. You just need to have the courage to go, I was going to say as white as you can, because I was thinking of somebody in a white gown, like a messiah. But then I'd be accused of being pro-white. I'm not pro-white. I can't even stand the politically correct people who use the word white. I don't like to be called white. I'm not white. You can see examples of white behind me where the sunlight is reflecting off glass. That's white. This is not white, and it doesn't matter. My dad is one of those most liberal people I know. His mind has become divided because that's the system Americans seem to like. They love division. Which team are you on? You got to get off the teams. My father kept telling me for weeks and weeks, he can't pick Kamala Harris, he can't pick Kamala Harris. I think she'd be okay, but we got to get those swing states because we've tolerated the swing state system. We keep tolerating these divisions. Americans have to become pure. You have to become pure. You have to get rid of things like Black Lives Matter and feminism. You have to say all people matter. And you can fight just as hard, but not by accusing people. If you really love people, then you start to understand biology and DNA. And you know that even the ethnophobe, even the bigot, even the chauvinist has psychological and social reasons, biological even, for the way he or she behaves. And until you rip yourself away from the way to blame them for that instead of trying to find solutions to that, and the clearest path to finding those is love first, because it's going to be hard. You got to grit your teeth and say, what, I got to learn why these people kill people? I got to learn why these people beat their wives? What, I got to... Yes. Yes. Because if you don't, you're only a faction. You become just as bad as they. What Black Lives Matter is trying to do is different from what they end up doing. They end up doing what every bigoted group does. The first ethnophobes and xenophobes who were trying to protect themselves against the black people that they made slaves did so out of a sense of good-naturedness toward their own. But you see, they were seeing us and them. That was the mistake. When you really love your brother, you don't see the color. And you can actually love the oppressor. Now, I know I'm sounding a lot like the words that have been attributed to Jesus, but he wasn't the first person in the world to say love somebody. It's why the human race survived. And Christianity started really late in human history. So despite the Mongols and Alexander and the Crusades and the Muslim marauders, every group, the Nazis, the Stalinists, despite every group, there were more people saying, love your neighbor. Now, you may come back at me and say, yeah, but they were Christian. They were Jew. Stop waving a flag. Stop waving a flag. The best guy I can think of is Fred Rogers. Yes, he was some kind of Christian. I don't know which denomination. I forget. Episcopalian? I can't think of the different denominations, and I'm glad. I was the Buddhist among my Dharma brothers who didn't know the scriptures, and I'm glad. The point of Buddhism is to go deep into the clarity of your own mind. It isn't to recite things. And that should be the point of any religion, unless the point of that religion is to govern, which was the real reason for religions, religare. But today, we've gone beyond that. We have mindfulness. We have love. Love divorced from all these different factions. And that's what we need. It sounds hokey, but only to the people who are still waving a flag of one type or another. If you want to heal America, you got to love. You even have to love Donald Trump. I suggest you want him the hell out of office. There's no fixing him. Okay? You also have to look at psychology and practicality. But hate isn't going to get you anywhere with him. If you notice, the stuff that I put up about Trump is just as forceful, but I rarely say anything about him in such a way as you could determine it as hate. People are writing to me saying, I hate him, after I make posts about him. Don't waste your time hating people, because you're just damaging yourself. It's like the Buddha said, when you blame someone else, you're holding on to anger in yourself. You're clenching your fists. And the only thing being helped is nothing's being helped. The only thing being hurt is your own heart, right? Sometimes I don't know if any of this makes any sense. I don't know if I arrived at this by logic. Maybe I've always been a lover since I was a young boy. But to borrow a turn of phrase from The Martian, we need to Fred Rogers the shit out of our country. Americans need to wake up in the morning saying, hi neighbor, it's a beautiful day. You're a beautiful person. And let's live in a beautiful way. I mean, that's what it takes. Not getting angry. You can't force people to apologize. You can't force people to love you. You can't force people to be good. The people who are looting, they just want stuff that they need. And my heart goes out to them because they don't have it. But I have a used computer, which is all taped together. I make $1,200 a month and I'm hardly surviving. I buy less groceries. I'm never going to steal. That's not the answer. This comes from a sense of entitlement. Look, I'm American too, and look what my country has done to me. Yes, and they are right. But if you couch your solutions in that entitlement, you can't win, and you'll have the policemen breaking batons over your head. It's the same with the Palestinians. I love using this example for Americans of color. The Palestinians are morally right. Everybody knows it. You can't use a biblical tract, whether it's the Talmud, the Torah, or the Bible, to justify taking land from people. I mean, you can do it, but it will never sit right with any intellectually honest person. Okay? So all the Palestinians have to do is stop bombing the Israelis, and the whole world will rally to their side. Nobody loves a guy who says, that guy hurt me, I'm going to go smash his car. Yeah, it's the normal reaction, but you'll not win friends that way. You'll only win people just like yourself, people not at the highest intellectual and spiritual level. There are no two ways about it. I'm not saying you can't fight if marauders come and they knock down your door and they want to take your wife and kids. But as long as you have a place to be, while those people are over there, you don't attack them. And then you win the moral high ground. And that's not why you're doing it, but that's the benefit. The reason you're doing it is once you've reached the highest spiritual level, you don't want to hurt anybody, because you intrinsically know what it feels like viscerally to feel pain. And you have the potential to feel sadness or empathy for anyone. Test yourself. How many of you out there felt sadness and remorse when Saddam Hussein was hung? I did. Because I knew it didn't have to end that way. It's the reason Captain Kirk usually didn't kill the enemies that he had at knife point or phaser point. Because it's not necessary, and it brings no joy to a good person. It only brings joy to a maligned person. And when we're angry and hurting because of what's been done to us and to ours, we're maligned. There's no social justification for destroying someone when it isn't necessary. You know I'm right. And it's not because I'm right. It's because of what is right. You want to solve the American problem of conspiracy regarding COVID-19 or the moon landing? You have to reach out to people with kindness. Every time I watch the spacewalks and I look at the live feed of comments, there's always a person every 10 or 12 posts, most of which are congratulations, this is Javier from Buenos Aires, go NASA, Hi, from Myanmar, we love you, space program. Good luck, astronauts. And then there's somebody who says, too bad it's fake, they're underwater. I feel sad for this person. I'm not angry. This person has mental problems. No two ways about it. And if you're doubting what I'm saying right now, you don't know enough history and you don't understand the human condition. Because it would be easier to develop a space program than to buy off hundreds of thousands, millions of people. It doesn't make any sense. And if you can't come to that sensible conclusion, there's something wrong. It might be temporary. And probably is. So, I get mad at them too sometimes. But the answer is love, not anger. That's the answer. It might not sound so cool, but that's the answer. The answer is love. So if you're thinking that people can only be reached via the Bible, like one of my sisters, who alienates family members by not getting off the phone because she can't stop talking about Jesus, or you're one of these people who thinks that Allah is the only way, you are really far down in the basement and you need to be in the attic. You need to rocket above the house with your spiritual consciousness. And the way to get there is through meditation. It's through quietude. It's through examining your own mind. You need to be quiet for a while, and you need to sit with the truths that coalesce in your consciousness. Now you might be thinking, oh, this was a surreptitious attempt of Carl's to get us into Buddhism. No, it's not. I sometimes have trouble calling myself a Buddhist because there's a lot of woo-woo in that religion, and I really don't want a religion. What I do like about religion is what M. Scott Peck said about it and what Alain de Botton said about it. It's a method. It's a method by which people from all walks of life can shake hands in a temple, a synagogue, or a church on Sunday. It's a method by which people can come together. I still call myself a Buddhist, even though I'm beginning to feel more and more aligned with the ancient Athenians, the Stoic philosophers, because they didn't have a spiritual path. They just had reason. And reason can be circular at times. Not if you're intellectually pure, but the intellectual purity breaks down when your reason brings you into an area where your entitlement and your self-preservation tendencies cause you to join one team or another. And that's not the answer. That's division. Krishnamurti said, the minute you label me, you have diminished me. Don't call me an Indian. Don't call me a black man. Don't call me a Christian. Don't call me a Buddhist. I'm a conscious entity, and that is what people should be thankful for. When I was a young kid and I was upset about a girl, one of my good friends, Chris Barbaria, wrote to me in a card for my birthday, "Get out there and have fun. You could have been born a turtle or a sequoia." And he was right. I thank every day for my sentience. I'm thankful for my consciousness. I'm not thankful because a God made me. This is nonsense. But now I'm sounding factious myself, and I don't want to do that. You may still believe that kind of thing. Well, I say, whether it's Black Lives Matter or Judaism, it's okay to keep your culture, but you got to get rid of this faction mentality. You got to see brotherhood, sisterhood, humanhood, specieshood. Sentience is what unites us. That's why you love your dog, because your dog can look in your eyes and you can see that dog smile. You can see that dog cry. When you really get there, you're not going to want to eat animals anymore. You may have to when you come to the realization that we are animals, but I recommend going as vegetarian as you can. I just ate a chocolate croissant. It's comfort food when I go into dairy. But I don't eat meat. I did eat some onigiri, some rice balls with fish in it recently because I was having real energy problems. But I don't buy fish, bring it home and cook it. I try to stay away from it. I definitely don't eat beef. Mammals. How could I eat something that is a relative of mine evolutionarily? Something that cries when they take its youth away. Anyway, the more compassion that you build, the more you will see that the answer is not in Black Lives Matter. It's not in Republicans. It's definitely not in Republicans. These people have gone 180 degrees in the opposite direction of what the founders wanted for our country. They've become evil. They're a cult. But it's not in Democrats either. It's in unity. It's in Fred Rogerism. It's in being kind. It's in loving. I'll leave you at that because it's another beautiful day outside that I don't want to waste. And I got to stop talking to plastic screens. But I am talking to you. Think about what I've said. Please. And even more than thinking about it, shut the words off and meditate on it. Meditation means you witness the truths which are coming up in your silent mind. And if you have questions about how to do that, contact me. Have a nice day.